So when a dark shape appears next to her in the car, she quickly recites the Lord's Prayer. Boom. Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Kingdom come. Amen.
That's how we recited it at church. That when you just,
Yeah.
and that's the most efficient way. Just when you just recite it just quick as you can, and then you're out of there.
Trespasses. She was like a paranormal the scat man.
That's interesting as well, because you would think in life saying the Lord's Prayer would attract the monk, but in death
Yes.
gets rid of him and his fusty odour.
Welcome to Loremen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm James Shakeshaft.
And I'm Alistair Beckett-King.
And Alistair, in a few seconds, you're going to hear my special patented whispering voice.
That can mean only one thing.
Yeah, it's a special guest deputy law person.
Who is it, James?
It's Nick Mason from the Weekly Planet podcast.
From the Weekly Planet podcast?
And loads of other Australian
and several
podcasts.
Other things.
He's a very funny man. And I attempt to scare him with tales of the Stocksbridge bypass.
Ooh. Sounds like something that would frighten a local councillor in South Yorkshire.
Yeah, I think it will. But also there's some ghosts. Alistair.
Hello, James.
Becco Kingo.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Is that Shaco?
Yes, it is.
You've Australianised our names. That can mean only one thing.
Ho, ho, ho!
It's Meso.
Deputy Loro.
What are we up to, fellas? G'day, boys. What are we doing, boys? Time for a bit of Loro, Menno? Couple of law blokes. Here we are.
Lovely stuff. Hello, Meso. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very excited. It's great to be back here. Oh, I was going to say we last time we discussed some Arthurian geese.
We did.
We unearthed that lore. I'd never heard that before. I thought I was very steeped in Arthurian legend, but there were some magical geese in a field, and you know, what are we going to unearth this week, I wonder?
Well, we've got some fun stuff with this time. It's probably got the most tenuous link to Australia yet. See if you can spot it. And you, the listener, too, see if you can spot the Australia reference in this episode, because I might even forget to do it, to be honest. But we're joined by Meso, of course, of the Weekly Planet podcast. How's it going?
Good. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers in a while, but I'm continuing to record it as if it's going well. So, yeah, I've forgotten the login, if I'm honest. So it might be going down the tubes, but I'll never know. I'm going to keep smiling and talking about Spider-Man. I'll tell you that much.
It's how would you describe it? It's a podcast about comic books, pop culture, movies, mostly movies.
Yeah,
centric, I'd say.
As a man, you know, in middle age, with opinions about that sort of stuff, I obviously have a podcast on that topic. But yeah, it's you know, it's a big blockbuster movies with a heavy emphasis on the superhero genre. But you know, obviously that genre is going down the gurgler a little bit. So we are gonna, you know, we're branching out to anything big at the cinema, anything big on streaming. You know, we'll have a crack at it. We'll talk about a Wicked, the musical, the Wizard of Oz musical. We'll talk about it. It was pretty good. I liked it. It was fun. You know. Singing.
Oh,
ever heard of it?
I've heard of singing, definitely. But thanks to your pod, I heard about one of my favourite horror films of recent times. Talk to Me. Is it Talk?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you told me about that, James.
I told you about that because I heard about it off him.
Oh yes.
Well, thank you, Meso. That
I
was very
absolutely
scary.
love that film. I think it's insanely scary. I watched it hungover and was traumatised.
That's an Australian film, right?
Yeah,
it is also Australian film, yeah.
Okay, I'd forgotten it was I was just treating them like normal people, but now I realise they're Australians. So I appreciate, Nick, you doing an Australian accent on top of your normal Australian accent for our sakes.
Traditionally, Australians are the only people on Earth that don't have an accent, you know, so I do.
It's just a quirk of geography,
Yeah,
isn't
it though? Yeah, so we've decided to, you know, when we interact with the wider world, I put on a little, you know, the Crocodile Dundee, you know. It's what people expect.
Is that why Americans think it's Cockney? Because it's It's just kind of, you've gone, we could do a Cockney accent. We'll do that and say it's Australian. Boom.
Yeah, it's like actors when they list the accents they can do.
Just pronounce data weird, and we'll fool them
Data.
all.
There's a data down there.
It is
We
data.
would say datos. We would say I've got a USB full of datos. But Australia does have regional
My
accents.
dato's corrupto.
But the Melburnians, which is where I'm from in Victoria, we are convinced we have the least a notable accent. I think we think we talk normal and everybody else talks weird. Adelaide, weird. Northern Territory, weird. There's also a lot of regional accents that have sort of died off, like the big, broad Crocodile Dundee accent. Like that's gone the way of the dodo in a way.
And was that a crocodile-related thing?
I think it could be. I think they've all been eaten by crocodiles. Yeah.
Was that it?
I think
Because
so.
you live by wrestling crocodiles, die by wrestling crocodiles.
We also have a lot of Australian slang, but in the present day, it's really difficult to figure out whether it's like real Australian slang that's been developed over, decades, or it's just somebody made it up for an advertisement and it's just entered the lexicon anyway. There's a term for if you're very thirsty. They'll say, I'm dry as a dead dingo's donger, for example. And that sounds authentic, but I think they made it up for like a soft drink ad or something.
It sounds very sort of stage Australian.
Yes,
it sounds like
doesn't it?
what
Yeah.
an Australian in a music hall play would say.
I've got two questions. One, do we need to bleep donger?
Mm-hmm, sure.
I would say almost certainly, but it's going to make it sound worse.
Fair enough. And two, is Dingo the real name, or is that an Australian nickname? Boom, I did it. Anything with an O
It was
on
actually called the Ding.
The ding.
But, mate, so we didn't bring you here to do some casual xenophobia.
Oh, all right,
We're going to do
bye.
much more formal
Yeah, it's been
xenophobia.
fun.
That's
See-
just
okay. I'll put on my top hat and tails, and we can do some formal racism. Here we go. This is how we do it. That's how we do it in the magistrates' court over in Australia.
Of a Sunday. No, I brought you here to talk about some ghosts.
Ghosts.
Definitely. So, Alistair, do you remember
James.
a TV show from the 90s called Strange
Almost
But
certainly.
True, presented by Michael Aspel?
Yeah, I don't remember Aspel's involvement particularly. I do remember there being a show called Strange But True. I may be confusing it with 999 with Michael Burke.
No one died.
Is that true? I think some people died.
Not on 999. They wouldn't show someone
No?
dying. Even the
Nobody
bee
ever
sting
died?
guy got away in the end.
Really? I remember like a pole going right through a guy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They don't die. Because that would show the emergency services in a bad light.
It's not that. He had a pole through him. I would
don't put it on
absolutely give the
telly.
emergency services a break if they didn't save the life of someone who had been cured.
Gentlemen, have we reached a moment in the podcast earlier than ever before the segment "Old Men Remembering Things"? Is that what's happening? Because I remember the TV series Games Master. Do you remember Games Master from the 90s?
yes.
With
This
Dexter
guy and he had a big
Fletcher.
robot
Games
head.
Master.
Yeah, okay, I remember
Patrick
that.
Moore.
Yes, that's the thing I remember.
I think. If it was shown in Australia, were you aware of who Games Master was? Because he's quite a famous astronomer, Sir Patrick Moore. Here.
I think I learned that later.
Astronomer
Yeah.
and sexist oddball Sir Patrick Moore.
I learned that even later, yes.
And he could also play the xylophone.
Yeah, and he was terrible at video games. I had no idea. He didn't know anything about games in real life. I can only imagine how furious he would be if people asked him for tips on Sonic the Hedgehog in the street.
Strange But True was of the genre of... What's that one you see eclipse with Jonathan Frakes a lot on the internet
it's
these
not
days?
Ripley's Believe It or Not, but it's something similar to that.
We're going to have to get this right, otherwise the listener will be furiously shouting, "We made it up," or whatever it is.
Yes.
What is the name of that show?
It didn't happen. And there was the Leonard Nimoy was the sort of the previous incarnation of it.
Beyond belief, fact or fiction.
Yes, the English version was Strange But True with Michael Aspel, who previously had been the This Is Your Life guy. But
He's no Frakes.
he moved into This Is Your Afterlife, I guess, in this format. Did you have a similar version in Australia?
We had a TV series called The Extraordinary, and it was similar. It was retelling sort of mysterious tales of ghostly travelers that somebody might pick up on the highway and things like that. And it was hosted by a guy, I think his name was Warwick Moss, and he had a very deep, gravelly voice, and he would say, "Welcome to the extraordinary."
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, pretty.
Did he? Was he like?
It's chilling.
Was he known for presenting any other stuff, or was he like a specifically paranormal presenter?
He was just the extraordinary guy, I think. I say that now, but again, the listeners will look it up and they'll find he had a 30-year career in sports broadcasting or something like that. But it's not my game at all. No, thank you. Ghostly Travellers, that's me.
Well, if you're into road ghosts, don't worry, we've got you covered. This whole haunting is about a road. It's the Stocksbridge bypass. This was quite a classic episode of Michael Aspel's Strange But True. It's near Sheffield, so we're talking Yorkshire. We're talking...
That's not Australia. Once again, that's a non-Australian road.
Just keep your ears pricked for the Australian reference.
I'm just trying to spot the Australian link. And I don't think that road goes to Australia.
Don't look too hard.
The joy of hearing about these locations is that they all do sound quite exotic. As someone not from there, if this were about, for example, the Greensboro bypass, I'm not interested at all. I mean, what am I gonna grab the Greensboro bypass to Mill Park? I don't think so. Not exciting. But the thing you said, the Stocksbridge, it's probably got a headless horseman on it.
Well, you will find out. This has got Multo Spectro, which is a formal Loremen rating system.
It can't be translated into English, so don't try and work out what it means.
It does sound, again, going back to the casual racism earlier, sounds like an Aussie term.
Could be.
We'd say heaps ghosts. That's heaps ghosts. Just heaps.
It's from Haunted Peak District by Jill Armitage, because we are in the depths of the Peak District. We're kind of Snakes Pass adjacent, which is a very, very exciting sounding road.
Absolutely.
But is an A road that's often
Snakes
closed
Pass.
because of snow. Yes, Snakes Pass, sorry to use the local term.
Is it Snakes Pass because it is absolutely filled to the brim with terrifying snakes, or is it just a bit wibbly wobbly?
Oh, we don't have those
here.
here.
It might be chicane based. Yeah, we've got no snakes.
No, we had some saints come in and turn.
You had to
stone.
bring up our national shame, Meso, our lack of poisonous animals.
Oh, no.
We've got foxes. That's the scariest thing.
Would you like some? Would you like some snakes? Because we have a real surplus here, and I could smuggle some over, and we could breed them. And you could share the joy.
You can send them over in those posters containers, the tubular cardboard tubes. Yeah. But no thanks. We're good. Okay. Cheers. So I'm going to take you back to the late 1980s. It's late 1987, and they're building a bypass around Stocksbridge. Presumably that's how naming conventions go. It's the Stocksbridge bypass. It's a little road, so you don't have to go through Stocksbridge. And this will go on to become a notoriously dangerous stretch of road.
Probably because of all the Lamborghinis, because it's the 80s. Probably all the neon.
Yeah, exactly.
The neon soaked.
Driven by snakes in many cases.
Absolutely.
They have difficulty changing gear and braking around the same time because they've only got one appendage to do it all. So South Yorkshire police say the road is no more dangerous than any other road of its type in Britain. Judges ruling on traffic accidents have described the road as built on the cheap. So it's a dangerous bit of road. But before the bypass was even a twinkle in a county councillor's eye, on White Row Farm in Hunshelf lived Annie Staniforth, who would tell her daughter, Miss Katrina Hewitt, of a ghostly monk that she would see wandering the fields. Now, that monk had been killed by soldiers for some unknown reason. I mean, I don't want to victim blame. I don't know what the monk did to get those soldiers to kill him. But the story goes that the monk...
Soldiers only do that when they're very distressed. So
right.
Clearly the monk is to blame in this situation.
Yes.
Probably jangling his bells. They've always got a bell. They're toiling that bell. Bang, I say. Bang.
It was rattling his rosaries a little bit too loud.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Do you mean like bell ringing in a church there? Not like they've got a little dingly dangly bell around their neck? Or do you mean like a cat?
I think you may have confused monks with cows.
I have. That's correct. Yes, the Jersey monk. Is that's what we're? Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
Frisian
thinking of,
monks.
yeah. Yep.
To be honest, that does sound like a brand of monk.
Let's just relax with a nice glass of monk's milk.
Ooh, yeah, don't milk the monk. Don't milk a monk. If anyone takes anything away from this episode, it's don't milk a monk.
Hashtag don't milk a monk. Let's get that trending, folks. Let's get a campaign going. It's important.
So, in nearby Hunshelf Hall, I'm not sure how that's pronounced. It's Hunhelf. Hunshelf. It sounds like a shelf used exclusively by Huns.
Is there an S in there? Did you say the S?
Hunshelf. Yeah.
Shelf.
Yeah, it's probably pronounced like Hunnef or something, so I wouldn't worry about it. What are they going to do? Call the South Yorkshire Police?
Oh no, let's not get into slamming the South Yorkshire Police as a genre of episode. Although they deserve it because of what they did in the late 80s. The monk's last wish was to be buried at nearby Stannington, but whoever buried him, I guess these soldiers, otherwise it's blooming half a job, did not do it there. They didn't even do it on any sort of hallowed ground. They just buried him in standard ground.
How do we know that? So the monks killed him, and then with his dying breath, what he told them where he wanted to be buried, and they would say, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to bury you here.
It's just his last wish. It might not have been like his last words. He might have been like, blowing his candles out on a birthday cake, make a wish. To be buried at Stannington Hall.
I guess I'm just asking how we, the law blokes, know that happened.
Well, that means that he told the wish, doesn't it? And if you tell the wish, you don't get the wish. That's why it didn't happen,
so
monk.
Once again, the monk is to blame.
Maybe he
monk.
wrote it down on a piece of paper and then he posted it to himself. So we have it on record, yeah, and it's got the date on it as well. It's got the stamp, so we know it's all very legally binding. And they have disobeyed his wishes when they shot this guy. Rude.
It's got a picture of him with that day's manuscript.
That's right.
So they think that that's the monk that is haunting this area. And then when this motorway / bypass was constructed, we got more Malto monk sightings. So that one of the earliest sightings in relation to the bypass happened when Stephen Brooks and David Goldthorpe, who worked for Constant Securities, they were guarding the place of a night time in case someone wanted to come and steal a half-built road.
Wait a second, Constant Securities, but they're only guarding in the night time? That's
a very good point.
Isn't it, though?
That is a mis-selling. Have you been mis-sold security? So they were patrolling and they saw a man standing on P. Royd Bridge, which was a newly constructed bridge. And they weren't sure what was going on. It's like someone... It was obviously someone who wasn't supposed to be there. So one of them stayed at the bottom and the other one drove the van around to kind of go and catch them. As the vehicle swung round and directed full headlights at the figure wrapped in a long dark cloak, both men stared in stunned disbelief because... Well, I'm going to break from the quote here. How many heads do you think it had, guys?
Min one.
Or zero. Maybe negative. Maybe.
You're right.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
It was. He had no heads at all. I was slightly misleading you with a question. It was a trick question.
Yeah,
Zero heads.
And this is Price is
Can't
Right
believe
rules.
I specifically said minimum one.
Yeah.
I went over.
If I may, though, also P. Royd Bridge. It sounds like some sort of. Sounds like the end result of too much steroid abuse. Is it named after a disgraced bodybuilder?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
It's what gym urinals are full of.
I thought you were going for like the small end of piles.
Oh, like a hemorrhoid and then just a little P-roid.
Just a little roid.
Yeah, P-roid, to people who've been to Yorkshire, completely normal sounding place and name.
P-roid.
Normal.
Who's that on P-roid Bridge? Let's go and have a look. Blimey, he's got no head.
Mother, he's got no head.
This is a classic-looking monk. He's got the brown robes. He's got the rope belt, but no head. Is that that's what we're dealing with?
Well, yeah, and that haircut-wise, that contains one of the key monk indicators.
Yes, without a tonsure, how can we really say it's a monk and not someone in a dressing gown?
Tonsure being the proper name for
The monk haircut.
The monk haircut. It's just a border of hair, isn't it?
Yeah, they shave they shave a little circle into the top of the head so that your thoughts can beam directly to God.
It is that
without
for
getting
that
tangled
reason.
up in the hair on the way.
It's like a reverse tinfoil hat. It's so that God can get right in there straight away.
Yes.
Boom, have a poke around.
It focuses the prayer like a laser beam.
Boom, into your mind.
It's like shining a light through a ruby to turn it into a powerful laser.
lot-
Straight into God's eyes. Ah! Oh, you're not going to do that.
So going back to where we were, the vehicle swung round a direct swung.
It swang.
Swung. It swung. He swung the vehicle round and directed full headlights at the figure wrapped in a long dark cloak. Both men stared in stunned disbelief because the figure had no head and the light passed straight through his body. Within seconds, it had gone completely. And both men were so shocked, they informed the police and visited a local priest, asking for the place to be exorcised. And the police, boom, they got on investigating that, and bang, 4 days later, they turned up. So this is midnight of the 11th of September, 1987. PC Dick Ellis and SC John Beat visited the bypass.
Terrific.
Dicko and Beto?
Yes. Beto Dicko.
Well,
No. No.
just a winning partnership, Dick and Beat. Just the UK. They're the UK's Crockett and Tubbs of the 1980s. That's terrific. And 4 days, that's got to be a record.
Exactly. Yeah. So they were serious, no nonsense officers, and they went up to the road and they
I hate it when some nonsense officers arrive.
little bit of nonsense.
Yeah. Would you like to smell the flower in my lapel? You sprayed me with water. Please just investigate this crime.
It's just, have a look at this police badge. Have a look at the number on it.
Now, did these two have any kind of supernatural investigation experience prior to this? This is their first run.
That's a great question.
I don't believe so, because it says here they parked their patrol car and sat for a while admiring the clear sky and full moon. And then Ellis winds down his window and then suddenly just froze. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw someone standing by the side of the car, but he turned, no one there. And then suddenly Beat let out a scream. The figure was standing at his side of the car, and he described him as looking rather Dickensian from the 1820s era. As he tried to focus more clearly, the figure disappeared.
So we know at minimum this being has the ability to move from one side of a car to the other side of a car very quickly. That is, that is terrifying, honestly. And it's a full moon, so there might be a werewolf also. You can't rule that out.
Could easily be. A Sheffield werewolf could have travelled up.
Was this the monk, do we think?
I don't know, because
Was
Dickensian
the 1820s,
clothes...
was that a big monk era? I don't associate that time with a lot of surplus monks.
They've gone for a decade in 1820s.
Yeah.
And Dickensian, I think he's a child at this point. So this isn't really like peak Dickensian. It's not like Big Beard Dickensian, who's obviously compensating for the loss of hair that's inevitable for him. But yeah, so they assumed it was a joker. They leapt out of the car, searched the area, found nothing, and they got back in the car and drove back towards the bridge. Then they parked because they're like, we're going to call for backup. But then the patrol car began to rock as if someone was jumping on the boot of it. This proved too much, and the terrified officers turned the car around and headed back to safety. And they were interviewed on Strange But True by Michael Aspel, probably not by Michael Aspel, probably by a producer. And PC Ellis said it was impossible to dismiss his imagination when both he and his colleague had experienced the same thing. And anyway, the police don't make up those kind of stories. Emphasis reader's own. There's this. We're getting into monk season now, because the winter of '87. There was Graham and Nigel Brooke, father and son joggers, went jogging from the town of Chapeltown.
Just your usual father-son jogger pair. What more normal construction could there be?
That's right.
Again, for
in human society.
It's a midwinter father-son jog-off.
Of course it is.
Check their hard drives. Check their hard drives. It's not right what they're doing out there. Father-son jogging team. No. Wrong.
Of course, at this time, the amount of data on a hard drive. I mean, I don't think you could fit a crime in there.
I don't think they had hard drives even.
No.
Check their
It was all
diskettes.
RAM.
Check their 5.25-inch diskettes. Check them.
They've locked the box. Someone's locked the box. They were jogging down the lay-by towards Wortley Village,
Great.
and they notice a figure in a cape and a hood walking with his back toward the traffic. So this guy's got a hood, so that presumably has a head.
Yeah, unless it's a very flat hood.
Yes. But then would you call it a hood? It would just be a cape that's rucked up at the top. Oh, and by the way, the guy's got no head, because at that point you should have noticed.
Yes, that's right.
Surely. He was walking towards them, and it was not that. It was dusk time. It is not dark, and they could see his blank face and count the buttons that fastened his dark brown cape. And I think blank face. I'm thinking from some of the reports we have later. I don't think it was just. He was just like, oh, like looking, maybe thinking in depthly about something, and had no expressions. I think he had no expressions because he had no facial features.
Oh,
They were talking like, what's the comic guy? Is it the mystery? The question?
You're thinking of The Question. That's right.
I think it's the comic character, The Question.
Interesting. Now, so previously, if we are to believe this is the same monk, so previously he had no head. So I was like, well, simple solution. You find his head, you reattach the head, then you bury him in the consecrated ground. No more problems. That is the standard solution for this. But now he has acquired some sort of head, and so now this is trouble. He's gotten a soccer ball or a cantaloupe or something, and he's drawn some eyes and nose on it.
Well, he's not got to that stage yet.
Yeah, okay, right.
He's just inflated a balloon and attached it to the top. A flesh-coloured...
Which is festive, at least.
A pink balloon. He also had a bag. He carried a bag attached to a chain, and they could hear the chain rattling along the ground and smell a very fusty odour. I don't know what that bag on the chain thing is. This is the only person that reports that. And they stood in stunned horror, and the lights of a lorry swept the area, and the spectre disappeared.
But a completely different description each time, really.
Yes.
Again, that doesn't really sound like a monk's outfit with buttons, does it?
No, I don't. Yeah. And what? Right. Let's
And
go
that
to
kind of goth bag, that Linkin Park bag on a chain, is not.
That's right.
He has got that.
Very Dickensian, is it?
Right. We're going to flash forward to 1990, July 1990.
What fashions is this monk going to have this time? A hypercolour T-shirt,
Well.
perhaps?
Oh, fingers crossed. So Judy Simpson and her husband David are travelling along the B6088 by Wortley, and they're adjacent to the haunted highway. And over their left, they see a grey outline of a figure that seem oblivious to the road, and then that runs in front of their car. Judy slams on the brakes, and the figure just seems to melt into the car and disappear. And they stop, they look around, there's nothing there, there's no one there. So now we've got a grey monk. And in 1990, a lorry driver pulled into the trailer park on Station Road, and he's fiddling around with his ropes on the back of the trailer, and he gave a sudden shiver. It was as if a cold breeze has enveloped him. He can smell a rather fusty odour. Looking up, he saw what he describes as a monk-like figure gliding through his headlights. And that lorry driver was called Melbourne Heptonstall.
Of the Melbourne Heptonstalls? My goodness. What a legacy.
Ding!
Yeah.
For the listeners listening out, that is the Australian reference that I managed to shoehorn in to this episode.
What? I forgot. I didn't put my Australian glasses on. You didn't give me enough warning to enjoy that Australian moment popping out of the screen.
Now we know now, like the monk seems to look different every time, but he's fusty every time. He's got a fusty odor every time, seemingly. So that's the connection. Whatever fusty is, he's that.
Yeah. Every day he's fussling.
And we're going to flash forward to 97. It's New
Whoa.
Year's Eve. Paul Ford and his wife, Jane Ford, are in their car. They're driving along the Stocksbridge bypass. And
Potentially listening to OK Computer on the cassette.
Yes.
If they've got a
Absolutely,
cassette
yeah.
player. Probably not a CD player, realistically. No, be reasonable. Be reasonable. These are ordinary Yorkshire folk, James. They wouldn't have a mini disc player.
This contains some quotes from them. Paul notices a figure in the middle of the road. At first glance, it looked like some idiot trying to cross the busy road. And then Paul slams on his brakes. He realised the figure was dressed in a long cloak and had no face and was hovering above the road. And as with the majority of these witnesses, they knew nothing about the previous claims of the wandering monk. But do you want to know if they investigated it?
Yes. Oh.
Who's they? Who investigated?
The psychic consultant Lucinda Beavers. The psychic consultant Lucinda Beavers.
Bevo?
Bevo.
Of Penistone. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, you pronounced that correctly. Yeah.
Penistone. Do you know of the town? You know, you said a lot of towns sound quite like glamorous because you don't know. And Penistone, it's spelt Peniston.
Yes, Penistone, as I would.
And we are legally obliged to refer to it as Penistone. Otherwise, people get annoyed.
Yeah, along with Scunthorpe, it has a serious online problem with automatic censorship.
And yes, so Lucinda Beavers is on the case. She encounters the apparition herself while she's driving home from the bypass.
How convenient.
And she's used to dealing with the paranormal. So when a dark shape appears next to her in the car, she quickly recites the Lord's Prayer. Boom. Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. King come. Amen.
That's how we recited it at church. That when you just that's the most efficient way. Just when you just recite it just quick as you can, and then you're out of there.
Trespasses. Trespasses.
Okay.
It was like we were like she was like a paranormal the scat man.
That's interesting as well, because you would think in life saying the Lord's Prayer would attract the monk, but in death gets rid of him and his fusty odour.
Yeah, and she described the figure as large and very frightening, and it was such a sudden and unnerving encounter that, I'm not sure the logic here. It was such a sudden and unnerving encounter that Lucinda is convinced others must have had the same experience. And on one occasion, I don't really get I don't follow the logic there, but on one occasion, she saw the shadowy figure appear in someone else's car ahead of her. I think that's actually quite chilling. If you were to see in a car a ghost appear in someone else's car, because you can't, you can recite the Lord's Prayer as quick as you want. It's not going to hear you.
It's true. It's interesting though as well that he's sort of it's actually quite heartwarming that he's gone from seemingly having no idea like what the highway is. He's just running across the road and so on and so forth. But now he's comfortable enough that he can appear in a car. He's like, oh, cars are for going down the highway. I'll just hop in the passenger seat there. We can have a little chat.
This is neat.
Yeah, it's just taken him a while to sort of adjust to the speed, and now he can do it. That's lovely.
Well, yeah, because they put a detail I forgot to mention about the father-son jogging duo was that when the thing that clued him into the fact that it was a ghost, apart from the fact it had no facial features, was that the man was walking in the ground rather than on the surface.
Oh, your classic.
Your classic. It's not at the same height, and the sort of the reverse had happened to Paul and Jane Ford. The ghost was above the ground, implying that, it's that sort of object permanence or whatever. Like the ghosts interact with the terrain as it would have been in their time, which doesn't explain how they got on a newly built bridge, unless this monk just happened to hover at like 13 foot or something. And also it implies that it's like running along to be in the car. You know what I mean? Like it's run along at the speed of a car in the passenger, where the passenger seat would be.
Like a spectral Flintstone.
Yes, exactly. Like a spooky Barney Rubble. So far, so scary. And that is all the tales of the monk that I have here. But do you remember our security guards, Stephen Brooks and David Goldthorpe from Constant Securities?
Absolutely, I do, yes.
That wasn't the only ghost they saw. On another time near Peroid Bridge, they saw what they later described as a group of young children in medieval clothing dancing around a pylon. So these are the night watchmen.
Around a pylon?
Yeah, like it was a maypole, but for electricity.
Well, that significantly reduces their reliability as witnesses for me. You see one ghost, I give you some credit. See two ghosts, it goes down. The more ghosts you've seen in your life, the less I believe you've seen any ghosts.
And it also, it sounds like the kind of escalation someone lying would come up with. Like they've gotten all this press from the last one, and they're like, but now there was a lot of them. There wasn't just the one, there was lots. and they didn't look normal. They were in medieval clothes, and they were dancing, and they were running around.
Yeah, it's the aliens escalation is what they've done.
They've done that.
Oh, okay. But does the Alien film start with them getting out of, hypersleep, having some milk and a cig, and hearing a group of small voices singing? Is that what happens?
No.
It isn't. But it's quite a good scene. What? Okay, then in the sequel, Aliens or Alien Resurrection, does anything happen like what happened in March 1995? When childminder Pat Heathcote corroborates the story, she watched about 8 children dancing around what seemed like an invisible maypole on a grass mound near the new bridge. And does anything happen in the recent Alien Romulus when 3 weeks later, Barbara Lee of the pub The Mid Hopston's Arms sees some children playing in a field above the new bridge, miles away from where children usually play, and she describes them as happily dancing together, the girls in shin-length skirts, white pinafores and mob caps, and the boys wore breeches.
I would say mostly in the Alien movies, it's predominantly aliens, so none of that.
Yeah.
None of that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Except in the unreleased version of Alien 3, the script, they're on a wooden planet, and there are actually a lot of monks. There's a big monk subplot in that, but
there is a yes.
Yeah,
the big wooden monk spaceship. I like Alien 3.
I don't remember Prometheus enough, but I'm pretty sure there's no kids in pinafores.
There's no kids in
dancing around a maypole.
No. And the outfits they're describing are not medieval. There, white pinafores and breeches is 19th century, isn't it? So the kids are also shifting time periods.
Or they could be, catching up with the
Mob
fashions,
caps.
Experimenting with different sizes. I don't want to. What is a mob cap?
It's what your classic maid wears.
Oh, nothing to do with the mob.
it's not a fedora, no.
It's not an indication that you're a member of the Cosa Nostra.
Pretty nice maypole you've got here. Hope nothing bad happens to it.
Hope no one rearranges your ribbons. I mean, those are the ghosts of the Stocksbridge bypass. Spooky enough for you?
It's very
Are
spooky.
you
Very
not
spooky.
terrified?
I was terrified. It makes me want to go out there. I think that's important. It makes me want to take a trip up there and get on the bypass and see if we can replicate the results. I think that's the essence of a good ghost story. I think is you don't go you're like I gotta investigate this. I got to go out and I've got to go to the town and I've got to go on the spot and I've got to go to the local ice cream parlor and etc. and spend some money in the gift shop and etc. So if they haven't,
there will not be an ice cream parlor. I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, I was just about to say this is I've
Sheffield.
never heard anything. This is so the words of someone who hasn't been to South Yorkshire. A gift shop and an ice cream parlor. You're going to be so disappointed. I can't wait till you get to Penistone.
Wow.
This is going to be great.
Well, they've missed a trick. I would have you get the T-shirt and it says there's a mad monk. It's an arrow and it points and it says there's a mad monk next to me in the car. And you all have fun. Or maybe and there's
Put a penny in a penny squasher.
Exactly.
And have a picture of a no face on it.
Well, it would just need to be black. You would need to.
Yes, you could just make it blank out the face on the coin already.
Yes.
So,
Perfect.
Spooky.
So, are you ready to score me then, gang?
yes.
And also, I like the idea that we're in a gang.
We're now a gang. Yes.
Let's riot in the streets after this, fellas. I mean, separately, obviously.
Putting on my mob cap now.
Absolutely.
There's a nice podcast you've got going on here. Hope nothing happens to it.
Oh, me lord, be a nice pat of butter in yon larder. 'Twould be a shame were anything to happen to it.
'Twould be a shame
Am I
if
doing
that
the
butter
accent
should
right? Am I
turn
doing it?
rancid. I've got a mob cap that's got like a little holder for your pitchfork and flaming torch. It's that kind of mob. But let's actually score it. Come on then. Okay, first up, hit me with the naming score.
What was the name of the guy who was the only tenuous link to Australia in the story?
Melbourne something? Melbourne?
Melbourne Heptinstall.
Okay, now I'm torn because that is a 5 out of 5 name.
But you're combining it with Dick Ellis,
Yep.
John Beat,
I think Dick and Beat.
Lucinda
that's a classic
Beavers.
combo. Dick, Beat, and Beavers. That's that's a law firm right there. I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good combo. And I'm giving 5 stars for all the town names, even though to you they are as dull as ditch water. They're beautiful. They may as well be the lands of the magical land of Oz to me, because they're just Sheffield. Oh,
there's a chef in a field.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't wait to go to the Sheffield gift shop. I can't wait to go to the Sheffield Fun Fair and get on the Sheffield roller coaster. I'm so excited.
Apparently in Vegas they are making a Sheffield themed casino because it's that big. You've got You OK Hun Shelf. You've got Annie Staniforth. That's a good name. Michael Aspel.
Well, look, I don't think it's that high, but what's normal to us amazes me so yes, I guess I have to go with the guest. And
I mean, you can. I'm happy to have my score driven down by the
over familiarity.
To me, there's nothing amusing or interesting about Penistone. It's just the most ordinary town name. But seeing it through your eyes,
but Alistair, if you were to be transported to Melbourne and you looked like I did, looked on the tram sign and saw the stop of Batman, would you not be blown away? Which I imagine to Mason is meh. Absolute.
I drive down Batman.
I mean, I know who the
almost
person is
every
that it's
day.
named after. Do you?
Batman Avenue.
Yeah.
He's a terrible, terrible guy, but he's the guy that founded Melbourne, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
He was I believe at one point it was going to be known as Batmania.
That's true. That is true. That's a fun Melbourne fact. Yeah.
I've done my Batman research.
Yeah. Just all the mythical
Sorry,
places of
this is
Melbourne.
just a guy whose surname was Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Batman. John, and also the Wikipedia page describes him and some real bad stuff that he did, and the end of the page is Batman died of syphilis.
Classic. Good stuff. Good.
He could defeat
stuff.
any superhero, but not that one. He's got a plan for all of them.
It's got to be 5 out of 5 for Batman died of syphilis.
All right then. Okay then. Chapter 2, category 2, supernatural. Come on, Em.
It's a lot of ghosts.
It's a lot of ghosts, and it's
a molto spectro.
It is.
Yeah.
You did say molto spectro. No, but even if the monk and the kids are the same, we've still got numerous ghosts, several children, and one recurring monk.
I think that's 5. That's and he's swift. This guy, he can jump in your car. That's a novelty little trick to do. It's difficult to get in somebody's moving vehicle when they're on the bypass.
If you're not a ghost.
Yeah. I don't know. We never really resolved what his head situation was. Like, did he find his head in the end, or did he? Was it a grapefruit or something? What did he do there? But I think that's.
He had a blank face, and it's like maybe he was just trying out different. Maybe the soldiers caused him to lose his head. Yes. Potentially, and then in the afterlife he's trying to maybe he's peeked in through someone's window and seen the film Castaway, and he's like, Wilson, that's a good look, I could do that, I could pull that off. He's got himself a volleyball. The
blank face thing to me sounds like a classic case of escalation as the story is retold, because when you say someone has a blank face, you don't mean that they literally have no facial features. So, and if you for the first time were describing someone with no facial features, you would say they the face was completely blank with no facial features to avoid ambiguity. And the fact that they didn't do that makes me think, like the first Discworld book with the Josh Kirby's illustration on the fronts. Am I being too nerdy here? There's the character Two Flower, who in the text is described as having 4 eyes from the point of view of the people in Ankh-Morpork, meaning, as everyone apart from Josh Kirby understands, that he wore glasses. But on the cover of the book, he's drawn in with 4 eyes, and it annoys me every day. Every time I think of it. It annoys me every day.
You shouldn't. It's because you sellotaped your copy of Discworld of The Colour of Magic to the front of your fridge. You should just take it off.
I will. But to me, it sounds a little bit like that. Someone said he's got a blank face, and then somebody else has taken the story too literally.
Or in a sort of reverse of that, someone was trying to describe how this ghost had no head, but forgot the word head and just said face. And he meant like nothing at all on the face. Like no behind the face either.
Yeah, I'm inclined, based on the Josh Kirby irritation that I just reminded myself of, to downgrade it to a 4 from Meso's 5. So I'm knocking a point off because of the blank face ambiguity.
I'm inclined to agree. I think if we'd found if there was a point in the story where somebody had knocked the head off a statue and then he was wearing the head of the statue as his own head, like that would sort of tie it together, I think. But just the fact that it's just like, he had no head and then he had a head. It's fine, I guess.
The story at the start sets up a lot of and this is what he wanted. He had unfinished business. And then we sort of forget all about that. And he just starts dressing like a goth.
Yeah, that's right. The chain, the bag and the chain. We didn't. What was he? Was he holding?
What was going on?
Was he holding the chain or was he holding the bag? And the chain was coming off the bag.
He carried a bag attached to a chain, and the chain's rattling along the ground.
And a hoodie, like a Nirvana hoodie.
Yes,
it's the wrong way round. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's made his own thumb holes so he can have it right up.
Yes, sleeves with thumb holes, classic.
So what was this? Is this sticking with a 4? Are we?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good supernatural, but I think it needs a stronger through line for the guy.
All right. I'll take that. So category 3, the classic Yorkshire phrase, "That makes a better door than a window," which, for translation purposes,
Thank you.
is what you'd say if someone was stood in front of the telly.
Yeah.
Basically, you say you make a better door than a window in that you're blocking rather than being something I can see
good.
through.
Okay.
I remember the first time someone said this to me and I took it as a compliment. Thanks, I think.
Just like the first time someone told me that I was dry as a dead dingo stonger, and I'm like, thank you. It's actually very nice of you to say. Now, how do we apply this to a ghost on a freeway? How we...
Well, it's because the ghost is at some point seen as see-through.
Oh, yes,
You can see the beams of the car through it a number of times.
Translucent.
He fades away into nothingness, and by having no head, he's slightly more door-shaped.
That is so true, isn't it?
Because a person without a head is very much the shape of a door, the sort of broad outline. And I, as a very tall person, sometimes in walking through doorways, I do wish I could choose whether to have a head or not, because I will hit it on the door frame.
Yeah. Do you naturally hunch as you approach a door?
Yeah. Oh, big time. And some of my friends when I was growing up, friends lived in old houses which were very small.
Did they live in a pulp album? Is that what happened?
No, it was
Pulper
like
from Sheffield. Pulper from Sheffield. That's what he's describing there. That is what you are travelling to see.
Yeah, okay.
Pure
All
misery.
right.
Arctic Monkeys are Sheffield as well, for a slightly more up to
and I'll
date.
never forget the lyrics. I bet that you look good on the dance floor.
Good on the dance floor.
1984.
Chris Cantrell's cover.
Yeah, that's great. I think, first of all, James, I think you shouldn't hunch when you approach a door frame. I think you should have the confidence to just walk right through and just smash your head on that door frame. I think.
Yeah.
I think that.
Even in a listed building.
There's one at my in-laws' house, which is like, it's an old house, it's an old barn from 1600s conversion, and the steps going down from like the kitchen to the living room, the top of the doorway is at shoulder height. Ooh. For me.
Wow.
It is ridiculous. How do you live like this? And I've walked, so I'll often like tilt my head down to go in and just bang, I just present the top of my head like a monk or samurai to the door to straight in there.
Well, that's really put a human face on it, James.
Unlike the monk.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why the monks and the samurai shave the top of their heads, so they have just that extra, couple of millimeters of clearance as they go through doorways?
It could be, but then I noticed when I've had shorter hair and in areas of the top of my head where there is less hair than there used to be, and to quote Withnell and I, hair are your aerials. It does let you detect when you're about to get hit on the head, so you can perform some last-minute evasive action from the stationary doorway.
It's a cat's whiskers situation, yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Someone put sellotape on my head once and I just walked around in circles. and if you see me doing that, it's because I'm distressed.
I think you've dazzled us with anecdotes, James.
Yes!
I think that's probably quite a low-scoring category, but we've been so bewildered and impressed with funny anecdotes about you banging your head that I'm thinking it's maybe a 3.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a classic sort of phantom move to be suddenly, you can't quite get a hold of this guy, anytime. I love and anytime you turn to this guy, anytime you try to make a grab of him, he's gone. I think that's, he's gotten away with it, hasn't he? He's never been caught, this monk. So, I'd say it's American.
Come on, he's at large.
It's a classic move, and he's pulling it off quite well, I think.
Yes, come on, thank you,
well,
Meso.
All right, Meso's Antipodean generosity knows no bounds. Fair enough. I'm happy to be overruled. It's a 4.
Category the 4th is a very punny title, so brace yourselves. It's Yorkshire pudding on the Ritz. Lovely stuff.
A brilliant reference to the song "Putting on the Ritz," and I'll never forget the lyrics to that song. If you were to go to something fits.
Yorkshire pudding on the Ritz.
Yorkshire pudding on the Ritz. Classic. Great lyrics.
Well, this monk was certainly putting on the Ritz.
Yes, it's the fashions. It's referring to the fashions because if you look at the stories, the monk ever so slightly tweaks his vibe every now and then. He's got a type of look, but he acknowledges the different changes in fashion. He tweaks that look.
He's adjusting the colorways.
People usually stop keeping up with fashion after death.
That's true.
Yes.
The monk breaks from that convention.
Yeah, 1820s Dickensian.
I like to think that this guy, like, he's sort of, like Batman, for example, might have like his standard outfit, and then he's got like an Arctic outfit. It's got a furry hood and it's all white. I think.
Are we talking about the syphilis Batman or the comic book Batman now?
We're always talking about the syphilis Batman. Yes,
we're talking about Australian Neil Batman or whatever he's called.
That's right. I think this guy. I think he's. I'm seeing him. And he's updating himself to the decade that he's in. This story spanned a couple of decades, and why wouldn't you add a wallet chain to your fashion arsenal? Why not? Wonderful,
It's the late 90s.
And maybe you'll look back on some seances you did where you admitted you had a wallet chain, and you'll go, I'm just you were having a bit of fun with it, that's wonderful.
If he had have had a head, he would have had a Kangol hat on it.
He would have mulleted that tonsure.
No fear beanies were. When I was in school, it was all no fear gear.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh no, big time.
All the scary kids.
He'd have a naff jacket, naff co, which I think you could only get from the market. This is middle-aged men reminiscing about jackets.
Maybe one of those wrist bracelet things where you could
a snap bracelet,
a snap bracelet
band,
or a slap bracelet that may also colour change based on mood/temperature.
This monk probably had those track pants that have all the snaps down the sides, and you can just
poppers.
Yeah,
they're off.
That's right. Yeah, his robes had poppers on the sides. Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right. The middle-aged men remembering, I think now literally every item of clothing from the mid-90s.
That's right.
We've had a global hypercolour, which is that is the king of 90s clothing.
What about a hoodie bought at like a placebo gig but from the street outside, so it's still got the United Colours of Benetton
And yeah,
embroidery on it, which I to be honest, I feel like I've mentioned on the podcast before.
a band long sleeve tour T-shirt that is made of such bad material, it is in itself see-through like that monk. So the wonderful category of Yorkshire pudding on the Ritz, aka fashion, but it's got a local flavour, quite literally.
I think it's a 5. I think,
it's a 5.
There's 5 different types of fashion in there.
It's difficult to keep up with fashion in real life, let alone in death, and he's given a red hot go. I think he's probably missed it a bunch of times, but at least he's trying, you know what I mean? And it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, aim for the stars and you might land on the moon.
That's so true, isn't it?
That's not the same.
You might bump into the moon.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that's what they say at NASA.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Meso, for clearing that all up for us.
No problem.
That's strange but true mystery.
Strange if true would be more accurate.
Right? The huge if true TV show you're pitching. Lovely.
Sorry, I interrupted your outro for me, so carry on.
But yes, thank you very much for joining us. And where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on a podcast called The Weekly Planet, which is all about big blockbuster movies and sometimes a spooky movie. So that's, if you like your spooks, we'll cover a talk to me. We'll cover the substance. We'll talk about all sorts of spooky movies, and also I'm on the YouTube channel Mr. Sunday Movies, where we also talk movies. So, I mean, if you like movies, you're in for a treat. If you don't like movies, I don't have anything for you, I'm afraid.
And at the moment, I believe you're doing the Lord of the Rings trilogy on that?
Yeah, we're taking
the original trilogy.
The original... That's right, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it's...
The Orig Tridge.
The Orig Tridge. And I tell you what, it's if you like old men reminiscing over things and going, boy, what a fun time, you're in for a treat, because that's, I mean, a lot of the time we'll look at an old series of things and we'll be a little bit cynical about it, but it's mostly just videos of us going, oh, and then they went to Isildur. Oh, and then they went to the remember when they got off that boat? Oh, and then they got on that other boat. Oh, what a treat. Warms the heart.
So you've just done the Two Towers then?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, the listener, for listening to us. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, the listeners.
Bye.
We'll hear
Thank
you
you,
next
listener.
You'll hear us next time. Bye.
Yeah, unless we hear you first.
Oh, if listeners want to see that in visual format with our actual faces.
With their eyes?
Yeah, it's on our YouTube.
Oh.
It's at youtube.com/LoremenPod.
And you just type that into a computer?
Just an internet. Type it into an internet. Type it into an internet and you can went to the right website. And if you want to went to another one, you could go to patreon.com/LoremenPod and there join us and get access to a load of bonus episodes. There's a whole bunch of bonus stuff from this.
And the Patreon Discord, which is yet another website that you can access through an internet.
And thank you very much to Joe for editing this. Thank you very much, Nick, for coming on and sharing his time with us. Cheers, Meso. Go check out The Weekly Planet. They're lovely guys. Thank you very much to all the people who already support us on Patreon. I'm just full of gratitude.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.